Once upon a time, there lived a human race who had destroyed their planet, and they were suffering the consequences. They were running out of fossil fuels, which was their main source of energy. Climate change was wreaking havoc on the natural environment. There were lots of emissions, but then something called a biogas digester was invented. This amazing contraption took in animal manure and created energy from it, which meant they no longer needed to use fossil fuels. On top of that, carbon emissions were reduced. Even more, people in rural areas who weren't attached to the grid could create their own electricity, which reduced the cost and made it much easier to access from rural areas. So the planet was saved, and everyone lived happily ever after. The end. Wait a minute. Oh, there's more to the story. Unfortunately, even though biogas digesters have been invented, they are not saving the planet yet. Why is that? Well, firstly, not everyone has a biogas digester. Why? Surprisingly, even though it only takes a few months to make back the money you paid for it, not everyone knows that. Secondly, those who do have biogas digesters often don't optimize their gas output. That's because they don't realize when they need to refeed the system. Thirdly, language barriers can be a big problem, especially in Africa, in terms of fixing problems and learning what you can do with a biogas digester. And lastly, when things break or aren't working, it's quite expensive to get a technician out to rural areas to solve the problems. But fear not, the story is not over yet. Tugepi is a company that has created something called a WhatsApp chatbot. In other words, it's a contact on WhatsApp that you can message and ask various questions, and it has automated responses. These responses vary. For example, for someone looking to buy a biogas digester, based on the number of animals and the type of animals they have, as well as the climate, it can calculate how many months it would take for them to earn back the amount that they've spent. That would increase sales, of course, because people realize that it is a worthwhile investment. Secondly, those who have biogas digesters can optimize the fuel output because it can tell them when the fuel production is decreasing. Thirdly, language barriers are no longer a problem because there is an inbuilt translation service. And fourthly, very good for the manufacturers of these biogas digesters is that there is a troubleshooting option where people can diagnose and fix problems themselves rather than calling out a technician who has to be shipped out to wherever the remote location is. So we created this biogas chatbot, and we're hopeful that it will increase the use of biogas and optimize that which already is. We want to make the world a better place. We want to get closer to a zero carbon emission planet and reduce the use of fossil fuels. So, if you want to join us, please hop on board. We are taking one step closer. We want to write the happy ending.